chosen one. Listen carefully. This moment, this exact heartbeat is not random. Heaven has paused everything to deliver a message crafted for you, not for the masses, not for the scrolling crowds. For you, you have been asking for confirmation, for signs, for a voice to break the silence of your searching, and here it is. This is not an accident. This is divine intervention. This is not just another video or script. This is the moment when your scroll arrives, when heaven whispers into your soul and says, "You were chosen, and the instructions have just been released. Now, beloved chosen one, you must feel it, the unusual pressure lately, the sleepless nights, the sudden shifts in your emotions, the pull you can't explain. All of it has been part of a spiritual alarm, alerting you that angelic instructions have been dispatched, and now they hover before you, waiting for you to open them. You are not like the rest. You never were. Even when you tried to fit in, something about you refused to stay hidden. You carry a fire that the world cannot put out. Your spirit knows there's more. You've sensed, even without being told, that something great has been assigned to your life. And you're right. There's a reason you feel watched. A reason why your warfare doesn't match your public platform. It's because your calling is not earthly, it's eternal. You were summoned by God before the foundation of the world. That's why the resistance has been so fierce. That's why the delays have been so long. Because you are not called to survive, you're called to awaken. And now heaven is trying to reach you. Again, there is a scroller divine document, encoded with your next set of instructions. It contains the what, the where, and the when of your next season. It contains the names of those you are sent to, the systems you are meant to disrupt, the demons you are anointed to silence. But here's the urgency. The scroll will not remain open forever. If you delay, you risk missing the window. You were not born at random. Your birth was timed with prophetic precision before your family ever knew your name. Your name was already echoing in heaven's courts. Angelic forces were briefed on your arrival, and darkness knew it too. That's why some of your earliest memories involve pain, abandonment, or rejection. Hell tried to silence you before you understood who you were. But you're still here, and the fact that you're still breathing means God isn't finished revealing what He started writing over you. You are the interruption to a generational curse. You are the breaker of cycles. You are the torchbearer. Heaven has been waiting to release. The instructions have been sent. They are in the spirit realm now, hovering over your head, heavy with assignment, soaked in glory. Some of you have already felt the weight, that sensation in your chest, that pressure behind your eyes, the overwhelming sense that something is coming, that something is required of you. That's not anxiety. That's divine summoning. But listen, if you keep scrolling, you'll miss it. Heaven is not casual about this message, and you shouldn't be either. You are standing on a cliff between mercy and mandate. The instructions have been sent, but they are not automatic. You must open them. You must accept them. You must respond. You must say yes. And yes, your yes will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you fear. It will cost you people who love your potential but cannot handle your purpose. But your reward will be greater than the warfare. You will walk in authority. You will begin to understand why your life has felt like a battlefield, because God is not raising up influencers. He's raising up intercessors, prophets, builders, repairers of the breach. You, as it was declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19 says, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Oh, that verse isn't for a pastor. It isn't for a religious elite. It's for you, chosen one, for the one who was misunderstood, the one who was rejected, the one who almost gave up but didn't. This is your sign. Your scroll has been released. The angelic transmission is live. Will you open it? Will you obey? Comment 777 below as a prophetic sign that you are opening your scroll, that you are receiving what heaven has dispatched over your life. And if this message confirmed what's already been stirring in your spirit, then like it, share it, subscribe, not just for yourself, but because someone connected to your destiny might still be asleep. Be the trumpet. Be the alarm. Be the reason they awaken. Your instructions have arrived. Will you answer? You felt it for years. A tug, a pull, a whisper in the dead of night that wouldn't let you rest. Long before you heard words like calling, purpose, or assignment, your spirit already knew that you were different. The signs were there, scattered across your life like puzzle pieces, waiting for the right moment to be assembled. You thought it was just a sensitive heart, a strong intuition, a heavy emotional load. But in reality, these were early signals, faint echoes from heaven calling you into position. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't coincidence. It was the divine pull of destiny reaching into your ordinary moments. Every time you cried for no reason, every time you felt disconnected in a crowded room, every moment you sensed that you were made for more. It was real. The pain you tried to explain away, the dreams you couldn't forget, the recurring numbers, the people who entered your life like divine messengers, only to disappear once their assignment was complete. All of it was orchestration. All of it was set up. The enemy has been trying to make you second-guess it. He's whispered that you're just dramatic, that you're overthinking, that you're unstable. But deep down, your soul knows better. You've never fully belonged, because you were never meant to. You were not created for comfort. You were created for calling. Chosen one. The pull you've been feeling is not emotional disturbance, it's spiritual activation. Before you were even formed in your mother's womb, heaven assigned a plan to your life. A strategy, a scroll, a divine intention. And that plan didn't start when you got older, more mature, or more religious. It began the moment you took your first breath. The pull you've felt is not just toward greatness, it's toward obedience. God has been drawing you into alignment, trying to reconnect your human experiences with your heavenly purpose. The longer you wait, the heavier the weight becomes, because your spirit knows it's time. You've seen glimpses. That one dream that felt more like a visitation. That strange encounter with a stranger who spoke into your future without even knowing your name. Those near-death moments that didn't claim you. You didn't survive by luck. You were preserved for instruction. Every season of isolation, every sudden ending, every divine disconnection, it all had purpose. You had to be emptied to be prepared. You had to walk through loss so you could discern what is lasting. You had to feel misunderstood so that when the right instructions came, you'd recognize the voice of truth. There's a reason God didn't let certain things work out for you. Not because you weren't capable, but because your calling was incompatible with counterfeit alignments. Your rejection was protection. Your frustration was preparation. What you've been sensing all along is now becoming undeniable. The frequency has changed. The pull is intensifying. The veil is thinning. Heaven is calling louder now. Because the time is shorter. The urgency is rising. You are being positioned for something that doesn't just impact you, it affects generations after you. You are being summoned not to fit in, but to be set apart, to carry truth in a world built on lies, to walk in clarity when confusion is the norm, to bring healing where there has only been pain, but none of it begins until you stop ignoring the pull. Heaven will not compete with distractions. The voice of God won't scream over chaos. That's still. Small voice will continue nudging you until you finally surrender. You've been given signs in dreams, warnings in delays, confirmations through strangers, messages hidden inside silence, all pointing in one direction, back to the instructions. It's not too late, but it is urgent. The longer you delay your yes, the more ground the enemy tries to claim. But here's the truth. He's already afraid of your obedience, because he knows that one obedient chosen one is more dangerous than 1,000 confused believers. You've been pulled by destiny. Now it's time to be led by it. Paul reminds us in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, Vers 6, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." And He prepared it in advance, before you ever questioned your worth, before you wandered, before you knew His name. It was already set. You've just been catching up to what's already yours. Chosen one. The pull is not going away, because it's not meant to. It's meant to lead you straight to the scroll, straight into alignment, straight into the life you were created to live. You've been marked since birth, long before anyone understood your potential. Heaven did. Long before you ever opened a Bible or heard a sermon, you were already seen, known, and chosen. This mark isn't visible to the naked eye, but the realm of darkness has seen it from the beginning and feared it. That's why your battles haven't made sense, why people around you have collapsed under far less pressure, while you've carried pain that would have broken most. It's not because you're lucky. It's not because you're strong by nature. It's because God marked you, and heaven has sustained you. The mark on your life has always separated you, even in your childhood. You may have felt out of place older in your thinking, deeper in your emotions, misunderstood by people who couldn't see what was on you. You weren't being punished. You were being protected from conformity, from dilution, from distractions that would have devoured your destiny. And though you didn't understand it then, you were surrounded, not by coincidence, but by assignment. There were angels assigned to your development, quiet moments where God whispered into your soul when you didn't even know His name. You're remembering now, aren't you? Those strange moments of peace that shouldn't have made sense. That's because even when your mind didn't know Him, your spirit did. Chosen one. The reason your life has been marked with unusual patterns is because your spirit has carried unusual purpose. It's why hell has tried to destroy you repeatedly, through abuse, through betrayal, through confusion, through identity attacks, through addictions, through discouragement, through loneliness. These were not just life's misfortunes. These were hell's attempts to erase your scroll before you could ever read it. but hell failed. You're still here, still breathing, still sensitive to the divine. And that's evidence enough that you are marked, that you are a threat, that you are needed. And yes, some of the people around you have sensed it too. That's why they were drawn to you. Even if they didn't know why, that's why some celebrated you, and others envied you. They could sense the mark without understanding the mission. Even the people who left you didn't do so by mistake. They were removed, because the mark on your life intimidates those who are still pretending. You carry truth, you carry fire, and it unsettles the false peace of compromise. Your presence confronts their complacency. That's why you've walked alone so often. But hear this, you were not meant to blend. You were meant to burn. God never intended for you to mirror the world. You are not called to camouflage. You are called to confront. You've been marked to move atmospheres, to shift regions, to break spiritual strongholds, not just over your life, but over generations. You weren't just born, you were launched. That's why your story doesn't make sense to most people. Why even those who love you couldn't always help you. Because what's on you was never theirs to manage, it was heaven's to reveal in due time. And that time is now. The enemy knows he can't unmark what God has sealed. So instead, he tries to distract, to delay, to discourage, to make you feel like you've missed too much, failed too often, wandered too far. But you haven't. The mark is still on you, unshaken, undimmed, unchanged. And now, that mark is demanding movement. The instructions are waiting. The scroll is real, and it's calling you by name, not your public name, not the name people call you, but the name heaven assigned to your purpose. That sacred identity only God can awaken, and He's doing it now. The time of hiding is over. The season of fear is expiring. The veil is lifting. What you've always carried in silence is about to be spoken in boldness. You are marked, and it's time to rise like it. The book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." That's not poetry. That's prophecy. That's the spiritual command over your life. Arise, shine. Not later, not when you feel ready, but now, because your light has come. If your spirit agrees, if your soul knows this was for you, comment, "I'm marked." No, just 2 words. But they are a declaration, a sealing, a prophetic act. When you type it, you're not just commenting on a video or a message. You're testifying in the Spirit. You're agreeing with heaven. You're stepping into alignment with what's already written about you. This is your moment, not to be seen, but to see, not to be understood, but to understand that your mark has always meant mission. You were never random. You were never just one of many. You were always marked. The instructions have been hidden in plain sight. They've been tucked inside your trials, embedded within your deepest pain, and woven into the very fabric of your life. While you've been waiting for a voice to speak from the clouds, God has been speaking through the patterns of your past. Chosen one. What you thought were detours were actually directions. What you assumed were delays were actually divine downloads. The moments you tried hardest to forget, those were the places your scroll was being written in ink only pain could produce. You keep asking, "Where are my instructions?" But the truth is, they've always been there. Heaven doesn't just speak through visions and dreams. It speaks through repetition, resistance, and even ruin. Every closed door, every cycle that repeated, every environment you couldn't thrive in, they all carried a coded message. You are not called to settle here. You are being prepared for something greater. God often hides instruction inside opposition. He conceals the scroll until your heart is ready to receive it. And the readiness rarely comes in joy. It is forged in fire. The job that drained you, the relationship that betrayed you, the silence that scared you. These weren't pointless hardships. They were the sacred classroom of destiny. Remember that season when everything around you was unstable, when things you depended on started falling apart, when people left without warning, when your plans crumbled and your prayers went unanswered? That wasn't chaos. That was God removing distractions so you could finally hear Him clearly. Your pain didn't mean abandonment, it meant alignment was coming. Because the instruction is not just in the breakthrough, it's in the breaking. Every scar carries a secret. Every wound speaks, if you listen. You weren't broken to be destroyed, you were broken to be built. You weren't abandoned to be alone, you were separated so your sensitivity to heaven could be restored. God placed breadcrumbs throughout your journey, quiet signals, divine interruptions, spiritual weight in certain moments that you didn't have words for. Looking back now, you can start to trace the pattern. Why you always felt uneasy in places others called home. Why you couldn't stay where you didn't feel called, even if it looked perfect on the outside. Why certain environments drained your spirit faster than your body. These weren't quirks. These were clues. The scroll isn't floating above you somewhere in the clouds, it's been downloaded into the story of your life. Every time your spirit winced, every time you felt the tug to leave what was comfortable, every moment your peace didn't match your surroundings, that was divine instruction disguised as discomfort. You have to stop dismissing your discernment. Stop silencing the nudges. Stop ignoring the unease. God has been whispering through your unrest. Through the nights you couldn't sleep. Through the conversations that stirred your spirit. Through the moments when you suddenly felt out of place. Even around people you once called family. He's not hiding from you. He's waiting for you to see what He already showed you. Chosen one. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's an access point. A portal. A spiritual radar calibrated to pick up frequencies the average person ignores. You feel more because you're called to lead more. You notice more because you're designed to carry more. You ache deeper because you're trusted with heaven's mysteries. The instructions have been wrapped in your own questions, the ones you've asked God late at night. Why am I like this? Why can't I settle? Why does it feel like I'm not enough for them but too much for others? These are not the cries of confusion. These are the labor pains of calling. God hid the instruction in the exact places you wanted to avoid. The betrayal you buried, the family patterns that haunted you, the ache of being unseen. You thought the scroll would come as revelation, but it's been coming as recovery. Recovery of memory, recovery of identity, recovery of sensitivity, recovery of spiritual sight. You won't find your assignment on someone else's timeline. You'll find it in the sacred history between you and God, in the way He rescued you when no one knew you were drowning, in the way He whispered your name in the middle of heartbreak, in the way He never left even when you tried to walk away. Paul reminds us in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." On all things. not just the good ones, not just the holy ones, all things. That means your failures, your trauma, your wandering, your waiting. It was all working, all instructing, all teaching, all forming the road to your assignment. This is why the scroll cannot be copied. It is yours alone. No one else lived your life. No one else wept your tears. No one else carries your combination of wounds and wisdom. That is your signature. That is your spiritual thumbprint. Your life is the instruction. And now that you see it, everything changes. Darkness has tried to intercept you from the beginning. Every spiritual attack, every confusing detour, every season that felt like it was sent to crush you wasn't random. It was war, an organized, calculated assault designed not to destroy your body, but to disconnect you from your scroll, to distract you from your instructions. Chosen one. Your life has never been a coincidence. It's been a battleground. And the enemy has always known more about your future than you did. That's why he attacked so early. That's why some of your deepest wounds came before you even understood what spiritual warfare meant. The assaults against your mental health, the feelings of being invisible, the anxiety that came out of nowhere, the moments of self-hatred that didn't even feel like your voice inside your head. That wasn't you. That was interference. You were born carrying something: heaven, values, and hell fears. Your very presence threatens demonic systems. You think it's strange that people treat you differently, that you draw attacks, that things are harder for you than others, but this is the pattern of the chosen. What's on you disturbs the plans of darkness. The enemy is not threatened by casual believers, but a chosen one who understands their scroll. That's a threat to entire territories. That's why he's thrown everything at you. To keep you confused. To keep you bound. To keep you tired. Because if he couldn't kill you, he hoped to silence you. And if he couldn't silence you, he tried to make you settle. But you didn't. You're still here, still breathing, still reaching for truth, still hearing the whisper of heaven when everything around you is loud with despair. That means the attacks didn't work. And if the attacks didn't work, then it's proof you are still on assignment. Some of the pain you've experienced wasn't just personal, it was prophetic. You've walked through some battles, not because of what you did wrong, but because of what you're called to make right. You've carried pain that wasn't even yours, interceding, absorbing, discerning in ways that seemed invisible to those around you. That's what happens to those who are called to break chains. You weren't being punished. You were being forged. Forged in fire. Refined in tears. Built in silence. You've been through seasons where it seemed like God was hiding, but in truth, he was protecting the instructions, hiding your scroll from premature exposure, waiting for your spiritual muscles to develop before revealing the weight of what he's called you to carry. And now that time is here. That's why the warfare increased recently. That's why the enemy has launched sudden emotional attacks, stirred up conflict, provoked doubt, and tried to make you question your value. He senses what's being unlocked. The scroll is opening. The instructions are being released. And if you receive them, everything changes, not just for you, but for the people connected to your obedience. The enemy's biggest fear isn't you being hurt, it's you being healed and obedient. Because a healed, obedient chosen one can't be controlled. They can't be silenced. They can't be manipulated by fear or guilt or shame. And that's what you're becoming. It was declared in the second epistle to the Corinthians. Chapter 4, verse 8 says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair." Micah, that verse is your spiritual X-ray. You've been pressed. You've been overwhelmed. You've felt like you were drowning in pressure. But the crushing never came. The despair never consumed you, because God has sustained you, and He's sustaining you now for what's coming next. Chosen one. The scroll will not open if you remain distracted. You have to fight back with prayer, with fasting, with focus, with holiness, not out of fear, but because you now understand the stakes. There are lives attached to your scroll. There are cities inside your instructions. There are destinies waiting on your yes. Do not let darkness intercept what heaven is trying to birth through you. You were not just created, you were commissioned. And what God has placed on you will be fulfilled. If you stay awake, if this message stirred something in your spirit, if you recognize the warfare for what it truly is, then don't keep this to yourself. Like this message. Share it with someone else. And subscribe to stay aligned with what heaven is speaking. These aren't just buttons, they are acts of obedience. Acts of war against spiritual apathy. You've been targeted because you're chosen. And you're still here because you're protected. Now finish what darkness tried to prevent. The scroll is opening now. Right now. As these words reach your ears and settle in your spirit, heaven is unsealing what has been locked for years. What felt delayed is now being activated. What was once hidden is now being revealed. The instructions tied to your next season are being released into the spiritual atmosphere, and you can feel it. Can't you? That weight on your chest, that stirring in your belly, that sudden clarity mixed with holy fear. It's not anxiety. It's not confusion. It's the trembling that comes when you're standing before something sacred. The scroll is opening and your name is on it. Chosen one. You have entered a divine moment. This isn't just inspiration, it's impartation. The kind that shifts your life from wandering to walking in mandate. You've cried for answers, pleaded for clarity, begged God to speak. And now heaven is saying, this is it. This is the release. There's a scroll, written by the hand of God, detailing what you are called to build, tear down, confront, and resurrect. It carries blueprints not just for ministry, but for movement, not just for influence, but for impact. And this scroll isn't general, it's personal. It matches the tears you've cried. It knows your wounds. It factors in your history. It's written in the ink of your survival. But this scroll will not force itself open. It must be accepted. God will not override your will. He will offer you the scroll, but you must receive it. You must say yes, not with your lips, but with your life. And here's the truth. The scroll is heavy. It will cost you everything that's fake, everything that's convenient, everything that's carnal. Because this scroll is a key that unlocks authority, but only to those willing to let go of everything that would weigh them down. When you receive divine instruction, everything in your life will begin to shift. People will distance themselves. Opportunities will dry up. You'll feel misunderstood again. But this time, it's not rejection, it's refinement. God is clearing the room for the scroll to manifest. You won't need to announce what you've accepted. The fruit will speak. The fire will confirm. The glory will follow. You are being invited to become the version of yourself heaven always intended, unfiltered, unafraid, and undeniably anointed. Don't treat this like just another message. It's not. This is the moment your scroll is being unsealed, and the enemy knows it. That's why you've been hit with random fatigue. That's why your old temptations have resurfaced. That's why doubt has tried to cloud your judgment. The enemy cannot stop the scroll from being released, but he can try to keep you from reaching for it. Push past the noise. Push past the heaviness. This is a holy interruption. Heaven is calling for your attention, and there's a response required not later. Now, heaven is watching. Angels are standing at attention. The scroll is open. What will you do? David wrote in Psalm 40, verse 7, "Then I said, Here I am. I have come. It is written about me in the scroll. There it is. A holy acknowledgement. It is written about me in the scroll. You, chosen one, are not forgotten. You are not invisible. Your story is not over. Your name is written in the scroll of assignment. And the moment you say, yes, heaven begins to move. Some of you are feeling this deeper than words can explain. You're trembling. Your eyes are welling up. That's not emotion alone. That's the weight of recognition. Your soul is remembering what your spirit never forgot. You were sent here on purpose. The scroll is calling you back to divine memory, to who you were before fear distorted you, to what you were shown before trauma silenced you. It's calling you back to the flame that never died, only flickered beneath layers of pain. And now, it's reigniting. If your spirit knows this moment is real, if you can feel the scroll opening over your life, then mark this moment in the spirit. Don't just feel it. Respond to it. Comment the number 999 below. This is not superstition. This is prophetic symbolism. The number 999 marks the end of cycles and the release into completion. It means what tried to repeat can no longer continue. It means heaven is shifting you into what was written all along. Comment 999, not as a trend, but as a testimony, a declaration, a public agreement that you're accepting the scroll, that you're done circling old patterns, that you're ready to rise. Heaven has opened something over you, and earth is waiting to see how you respond. Comment 999 and step into your scroll. You were never meant to blend in. From the very beginning, your life was designed to stand out not in pride or performance, but in power and purpose. The mark on your life made it impossible for you to settle into the patterns of this world. Every time you tried to hide, something pulled you back into visibility. Every time you tried to conform, something inside you resisted. That something was divine, chosen one. Your inability to blend wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. A heavenly design to ensure that you would never grow too comfortable in places meant only to be temporary. You've walked into rooms that couldn't hold you, relationships that couldn't handle you, and environments that tried to shrink you. But no matter how hard you tried to disappear, your spirit kept calling for more. You are called to be a signal in the noise, a burning lamp in the middle of shadows. Your presence carries confrontation even when you speak no words. That's why people sometimes treat you strangely. That's why your silence is often louder than other people's noise. The Spirit of God within you speaks volumes, even when your voice is quiet. But for years, you saw that as rejection. You asked, Why don't they get me? Why do I always feel like the outsider? You begged God to let you fit in, not realizing that He was answering your prayers by keeping you set apart. The wilderness wasn't punishment, it was preservation. Because what's on your life cannot be compromised. You weren't made to mimic the world, you were designed to disrupt it. From your earliest days, you felt like you didn't quite belong. Maybe it was in your home, your community, your circle of friends. You were too much for some, too deep for others, and too intense for most. But you kept searching for a place to plant your soul. What you didn't realize was that your identity wasn't supposed to be planted, it was supposed to be poured into the broken, poured into purpose, poured into the atmosphere so that others could wake up to their own divine summons. You are an awakener, a disruptor, a divine misfit. And that sacred disconnection you've carried for years was never abandonment, it was an anointing. Anointings don't come through applause. They come through separation, through long nights, through invisible battles, through the fire of loneliness that refines character and clarifies calling. Some of the most powerful oil is pressed in private. God didn't overlook you. He hid you until the right moment, until the right maturity, until the scroll began to unroll over your life. And now that the scroll is opening, so must your perspective. You have to start seeing your isolation for what it really was: training. God was cutting you off from counterfeits so that you wouldn't confuse familiarity with purpose. He was stripping you of distractions so that when He spoke, you'd recognize the frequency. Everything about your life has been a divine contradiction. You've felt broken, but carried healing. You've felt empty, but fed others. You've felt invisible, but carried authority. And all of this was heaven's way of building you backwards, making you into a temple before revealing the blueprint. Your life was never about ease. It was about impact. And the enemy tried hard to make you ashamed of your difference, tried to make you tone it down, laugh it off, push it aside. But every time you silenced your flame, your soul grew colder. Because you weren't created to flicker, you were created to burn. You have fire in your bones. Holy fire. Fire that doesn't come from charisma, talent, or ambition. Fire that comes from divine proximity, from lingering when others walked away, from listening when others tuned out, from obeying when it hurt. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the version of you that heaven authored. The version that walks in boldness, not performance. In conviction, not compromise. The version that understands that being set apart is not rejection, it's redirection. Moses was hidden in the wilderness before he was trusted to lead. David was forgotten in the field before he was anointed in public. Joseph was betrayed and imprisoned before he interpreted dreams. The pattern of the chosen has always included isolation, misunderstanding, and waiting. But waiting doesn't mean wasting. It means preparation. Chosen one. Your inability to blend in has been heaven's safeguard on your life. Because once you receive your scroll, you'll need the memory of your wilderness to carry the weight of your assignment. You'll need the scars to remind you who kept you. You'll need the solitude to remind you who called you. You were never meant to blend in. You were designed to stand apart so you could lead others out. You must break the spirit of delay. It is not simply procrastination, it is warfare in disguise. It masquerades as indecision, tiredness, confusion, and not the right time. But beneath the surface, it is a spiritual stronghold meant to keep you disconnected from destiny. Delay is one of hell's most deceptive weapons because it doesn't shout, it whispers. It convinces you that tomorrow is always an option, that preparation is the same as movement, that intentions are as good as obedience. But chosen one, heaven doesn't move on intentions, it moves on obedience. You already know what's stirring in your spirit. You already know what God has whispered. The scroll has been opened. The instructions are in front of you. And now there is one thing left: to obey. Not halfway. Not when you feel ready. Now, delay is not harmless. It is dangerous. The longer you wait, the heavier the disobedience becomes. God has mercy. Yes, but there are divine windows that do not remain open forever. Certain alignments are time-sensitive. Certaines instructions expire if ignored. This isn't a threat. It's a truth. And the time for stalling has run out. You were not designed to stand still in a calling that demands movement. Every day you hesitate. You give darkness room to fill the space where obedience should have gone. Delay may feel passive, but it is active rebellion in disguise. Heaven speaks and waits. The longer the wait, the more opportunity the enemy has to confuse, distract, and mislead. This is not a call to rush blindly. It's a call to obey clearly. Some of you have been sitting on divine instruction for months, even years. You've had the dreams, the confirmations, the whispers that wouldn't leave, the burdens you couldn't shake. But each time, the spirit of delay came in with logic, with fear, with fatigue. And instead of moving, you paused. You called it processing. You called it waiting for peace. But in truth, you were giving delay more power than it deserved. Delay always feels safe. It doesn't come with horns and fire. It feels comfortable, reasonable, strategic. But beneath that smooth exterior is one goal: to disconnect you from divine momentum. Because delay delays more than your next step. It delays the people connected to your obedience. Yes, this is bigger than you. Your scroll doesn't just contain your purpose. It contains breakthrough for others. Your yes will set someone else free. Your obedience will open doors for people you've never even met. But when you delay, you hold back the freedom meant to flow through you. This is why God takes obedience so seriously. It's not about control. It's about consequences. Delayed obedience is disobedience, and partial obedience is rebellion in a polite outfit. Chosen one, you cannot afford to hesitate any longer. The earth is groaning for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of Godand. You are one of them. Heaven is waiting. Creation is waiting. Time is moving. You have to break agreement with delay. That means shutting down the voices that keep talking you out of what God already made clear. That means refusing to let your feelings dictate your faith. That means choosing obedience over overthinking. You've been praying for clarity. But what if clarity will only come after you move? So many are waiting for the how before they take the first step. But obedience often reveals the how only after you say yes. Abraham didn't get the full map. He got an instruction. Go. And because he moved, heaven moved with him. God doesn't need your plan. He needs your permission. And he's waiting on your move. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 4, it says, Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. And, in other words, if you're always waiting for perfect conditions, you will never move. There will always be something else to learn, something else to fix, another reason to wait. But when you are chosen, you don't move based on conditions, you move based on conviction. The time for excuses is over. The season of delays has ended. This is the hour for movement, for obedience, for breaking the chain of delay that has wrapped itself around your momentum for too long. This is your deliverance moment, not from people, not from circumstances, but from the grip of delay. Let this be the day you walk out of hesitation and into holy acceleration. Let this be the moment you stop asking for more signs and start trusting the ones you've already received. Let this be the hour you say, "Enough. I will not delay any longer. I will obey." Because every delay you break releases divine movement, and heaven is ready to move with you. Chosen one. Listen closely. There comes a moment when your silence is no longer surrender, it becomes agreement with the wrong kingdom. When heaven speaks, it expects an answer. And today, heaven is waiting for yours. You've been sensing it. The shift, the urgency, the invisible pressure pushing against your chest and pulling on your soul. It's not just life getting harder. It's heaven getting louder. The scroll has been opened. The words written over your life are not theory. They are real. They are active. And now, they are being released. But every scroll demands a response. You've asked God to move. You've asked for breakthrough, clarity, direction. But now, God is asking you to move, to stand up, to speak out, to respond with something more than thought or intention, because the kingdom does not respond to emotion. It responds to obedience, and the door before you is voice-activated. Heaven doesn't wait forever. Delay is no longer innocent. It's becoming disobedience. You've reached the tipping point, the moment where God says, "Speak now. Act now. Move now." Not because he's angry, but because he's serious. Because your scroll carries weight that cannot be released while you hesitate. There are generations tied to your yes, territories tied to your obedience, deliverance waiting to move through your surrender. That's why the warfare has been so intense lately. That's why your emotions have been unpredictable. The enemy has thrown confusion at your mind and pressure on your soul, not because you're weak, but because you're close. You're closer to activation than you realize. Hell knows what happens when a chosen one stops asking and starts agreeing. And agreement starts with confession. There's a sacred moment in the spirit when you stop being inspired by God's voice and start being transformed by it. That moment is here. This is not about watching or listening anymore. It's about participation. God is calling you into alignment with what's already been written about you. In Psalm 40, verse 7, David declared, "Then I said, Here I am. I have come, it is written about me in the scroll." End of. Did you catch that? He said it. He didn't just feel it. He didn't just think it. He spoke it. He responded to what was written by declaring it aloud. And now, it's your turn. Chosen one. Your life has been shaped by invisible hands. The pain wasn't wasted. The warfare wasn't random. The silence wasn't abandonment. Everything was preparation for this moment. The moment you agree, the moment you stop waiting for someone else to say it first, the moment you say, "This is mine. I receive it. I will not resist it anymore. Endu 1. But here's the mystery of the Spirit. The scroll opens in proportion to your obedience. When you respond, more is revealed. When you speak, the next instruction is unlocked. This is not a metaphor. This is a mantle. You are not just on the verge. You are standing at the threshold. And one act of obedience is all it takes to cross over. That's why this matters. Because your words have power. Heaven moves on agreement. Earth shifts through surrender. And when you speak in alignment with what God is showing, you doors open. This is the part where your heart starts pounding. Your hands may tremble, not out of fear, but because you know this is not just another moment. It's your moment. And something sacred is being handed to you. What will you do with it? If your spirit has been stirred, if you've felt your soul vibrating under the weight of this truth, if your body has reacted to this message with chills, with tears, with a holy stillness, then you know this message is yours. And now, the response must come from your emotions, but from your spirit. 3 words, simple, short, and sharp enough to cut through delay, doubt, and spiritual fog. Comment, I accept fire. Say it, write it, declare it in the presence of angels and demons alike. Let it echo in the atmosphere. Let it rise as a bold yes to the scroll that's already been unsealed. Because this fire will refine you. It will not consume you, it will consecrate you. Commenting, I accept fire, is not a social cue. It is a spiritual agreement. A declaration that you are stepping into the next phase. That you're done waiting. That you're ready for the fire of calling. The fire of clarity. The fire of heaven's assignment. Comment, I accept fire. Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. And your future is waiting. The enemy knows you're close. That's why the pressure has been unrelenting. That's why old temptations have reappeared. That's why your thoughts have felt like a battlefield, and your energy has been drained without reason. It's not coincidence, it's confirmation. You are on the edge of activation. And hell is terrified. Spiritual attacks are rarely about where you are, they're about where you're headed. The closer you get to your scroll being fully revealed and embraced, the more violently darkness tries to pull you back into distraction, doubt, and delay. That's why you feel the tension. You've been asking yourself, why am I being hit so hard when nothing even looks different yet? But chosen ones always sense the warfare before the breakthrough manifests. That's because you're not just reacting to the natural, you're feeling the tremors of what's happening in the spirit. Every breakdown in this season has been a setup for breakthrough. The enemy has watched you survive too much. He's seen you walk away from the things he thought would bury you. That sickness, you healed. That heartbreak, you grew. That betrayal, you kept walking. That addiction, you broke it. He sees what's rising inside of you, and it terrifies him. You are becoming spiritually dangerous. That's why your dreams have intensified, why you've felt unusual resistance in simple areas, why moments of overwhelming emotion come out of nowhere. These are spiritual signals, alerts in the unseen realm. The scroll is activating, and the enemy knows that if you step fully into obedience, his hold breaks not just off of you, but off those connected to your anointing. You've been asking for signs. The warfare is the sign. Don't misread this season. The chaos is not a curse, it's a clue. Hell only panics when heaven begins to move. In the first epistle of Peter, chapter 4, verse 12, It is written, "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you." And for the battle isn't strange. It's strategy. It's designed to shake your focus and silence your surrender. But here's the truth. Darkness doesn't want you to realize you've already won battles that should have taken you out. And what you've conquered in silence will soon shout in public. Your survival wasn't survival, it was positioning. Every storm you endured was unlocking authority. Every delay was refining your discernment. You are not the same person you were a year ago, or even 6 months ago. You've been transformed under pressure, quietly rebuilt in warfare. Heaven has been molding you in the hidden place, preparing you for the open assignment. But now you must stop second-guessing what God has already confirmed. You've heard His voice. You've seen the signs. You've felt the fire. The scroll has been presented. The words are speaking louder now. And your spirit knows it's time. It's time to stop letting fear answer for you. It's time to step fully into what's already been promised. Because the enemy's last weapon is intimidation. If he can't kill you, he'll try to convince you that you're not ready, that you're too flawed, that you missed your moment. But the truth is this: flawed vessels still carry holy oil. God does not wait for your perfection. He moves when you yield. Chosen one, you are being summoned, not to just survive, but to awaken, to move with divine clarity, to take your scroll and run with it. Not for status, not for recognition, but for obedience, for impact, for purpose. The enemy has seen the glow coming off your spirit, and he's scrambling to confuse what God has already made clear. But confusion ends where clarity is confessed, and you confess clarity through obedience. If this message has confirmed what your spirit has already been sensing, if it's clarified the storm you've been walking through, then don't let it stop with you. Like this message. Share it with someone who's under attack, and subscribe to stay aligned with the voice of clarity. These aren't just media actions, they are prophetic acts. When you engage, you're not just consuming, you're responding. You're choosing to link your yes with heaven's now. Don't let the enemy isolate you in silence. Let your actions declare, "I know who I am. I know what I carry. And I know the enemy is nervous, because I'm finally waking up." The warfare was never about your past. It was always about your scroll. You are close, closer than you've ever been. And now, it's time to risen not with fear, but with fire. Like, share, subscribe, because what's next demands boldness, and you are chosen for it. This is your activation season, the years of internal struggle, of private warfare, of silent obedience. They were never wasted. They were preparation for this moment. You are not stepping into something new randomly. You are stepping into something sacred, written long ago, now ready to be made manifest. Chosen one, you are moving from survival into assignment. You've spent seasons learning how to endure, how to keep going when everything around you fell apart. You've trained your soul to pray through pain, to worship through disappointment, to trust when nothing made sense. And now, the oil produced in that hidden place is beginning to flow. This is what you were being prepared for. This is why the pressure was so intense. Heaven has been forging, you shaping your mind, your voice, your vision. You are not just waking up, you are being commissioned. This is not about inspiration anymore. It's about instruction. The difference between those who are called and those who are activated is simple: obedience. Many are called, but few are willing to surrender to the fire of assignment. Few are willing to walk away from comfort, approval, and predictability to step into what only makes sense in the spirit. But you're different. You've already lost too much to go back. You've seen too much to pretend anymore. You've felt the tug, seen the patterns, heard the whispers in dreams and stillness. You've been marked, and now you're being moved. You are no longer just carrying potential, you are becoming a vessel of purpose. Don't expect everyone around you to understand. When activation hits, people who once walked with you may no longer relate to you, and that's okay. Assignment requires alignment, and alignment will cost you old conversations, familiar rhythms, and environments that feel good but don't grow you. You are being set apart, not as punishment, but as positioning. God is removing distractions with surgical precision, not because he's cruel, but because he knows what's ahead. He knows what your scroll contains. He knows who's attached to your voice. He knows the timing of the impact you're about to make. So don't fight the pruning. Don't mourn what's leaving. Heaven never subtracts without preparing to multiply. You're stepping into a season where what didn't make sense before will suddenly become revelation. The pain that confused you will now become language for healing others. The places where you felt weak will now become wells of wisdom. Every scar will speak. Every delay will produce. This is your activation. The same way Jesus called Lazarus out of the tomb, heaven is calling your name out of spiritual hiding. Your purpose is being resurrected. Your gifts are being stirred. Your boldness is being reignited. You are coming alive in places you thought were dead. But activation isn't glamorous. It often begins with discomfort, with the unsettling of everything that's familiar, with an ache that says, "There's more," even when you can't explain it. That ache is holy. Don't silence it. Don't numb it. Follow it. You are stepping into clarity that doesn't come from study, but from surrender. This isn't about head knowledge. It's about heart alignment. You're about to walk in rooms you didn't train for, carry messages you didn't write, and operate in authority you didn't earn. Not because you're qualified, but because you're willing. And God can do more with one surrendered soul than with 1,000 who are talented but timid. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 8, the prophet says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here am I. Send me.'" And this is what heaven is looking for now, not perfect resumes, but pure hearts, not polished performance, but passionate obedience. Chosen one. The call has gone out. The scroll has been handed to you. And now, activation is here. It doesn't mean you'll know every step. It means you're ready to take the next one. It means you're done waiting for clarity when God has already given you conviction. You've walked long enough in survival mode. You've carried trauma like armor, prayed with tears, worshipped through weariness, and heaven has seen every step. Now it's time to build, to speak, to move, to release, to walk fully in the instruction tied to your scroll. This is your moment of divine transition, from waiting to walking, from wondering to knowing, from surviving to activating. Heaven has cleared the path. The Spirit has confirmed the word. Your scroll is no longer sealed. You are ready. You are aligned. You are activated. Chosen one. The scroll has opened, and now your response must be sealed. Not in theory, not in feeling, but in prophetic action. Because what's been declared over your life requires more than agreement. It requires activation. And heaven is watching for who will respond. This is not the season to stay silent. When heaven speaks, earth must echo. When divine instruction is released, the Spirit must answer. Your scroll isn't just a revelation, it's an invitation. One that carries weight. One that divides seasons. One that moves you from surviving into supernatural movement. And there's a number that seals this moment. You've seen it before. In your dreams. On clocks. In moments when you felt God's presence brush across your chest. 9点9分 9点19分 9点59分 That number has followed you, stirred something in your spirit. And maybe you didn't fully understand it until now. The number 999 is heaven's numeric signature for divine closure and prophetic rebirth. It represents the end of a cycle and the opening of your divine scroll. You've been circling the same mountains, repeating the same seasons, questioning the same promises. But that season ends now, not through force, but through surrender, not through striving, but through spiritual agreement. You've asked God to speak. Now He's asking you to seal it, because something is shifting, something eternal. The kind of shift that doesn't just affect your week, it affects your bloodline, your destiny, your spiritual jurisdiction. Every scroll carries not only instruction but authority, and as you receive it, heaven releases assistance. Angels are loosed. Doors begin to open. Strategies begin to unfold. And clarity replaces confusion, but only when you agree, truly agree. And the first step is your prophetic response. This is what you've been prepared for. This is why the attacks increased, why people misunderstood you, why the pressure grew heavy just before this message found you. Because you are the fulfillment of a written word, not a coincidence, a confirmation. In the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 12, the angel says to Daniel, "Do not be afraid. Daniel, since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them." Did you hear that? Heaven moved. In response to Daniel's words, not just his thoughts, not just his emotions, but his words, spoken agreement, confessed alignment, chosen one. You are standing in the same place now. You've been stirred, convicted, confirmed. And now the Spirit is watching. Will you respond? You may feel like your obedience is small, like your comment is just a number. But in the spirit realm, it is more than digital ink. It is a signature, a signal, a line in the sand that says, "This cycle ends with me. I am choosing the scroll." End of. When you type 999, you are not just typing a number. You are sounding an alarm in the heavens. You are making your obedience visible to the spirit world. You are opening the door for what has been hovering over your life to finally descend, because heaven does not release until earth agrees. And if your spirit bears witness, if you've been weeping, shaking, burning inside with confirmation, this is your moment. Don't scroll past it. Don't delay. Don't say, "I'll respond later." That's how cycles stay unbroken. This is the ending of old agreements and the signing of a new one. You're leaving behind every counterfeit that once looked like calling. You're walking away from every voice that diluted your obedience. You're severing ties with fear, with shame, with religious patterns that kept you bound to performance instead of presence. And when you comment 999, you are prophetically declaring, I accept the scroll, and I end what needed to end. I begin what God has written for me to begin. And this is the power of a prophetic act. It moves beyond intellect. It bypasses fear. It taps into the ancient flow of obedience that aligns your life with what was spoken before time began. You are not just responding to a message. You are responding to a mandate. A scroll has been unsealed. A fire has been lit. The angels assigned to your next chapter are standing ready, and the Spirit is hovering, waiting for your agreement. Do not underestimate what your surrender will activate. Comment 999, not as a number, but as a signal, a seal, a sentence in the language of the Spirit that says, it is finished, it is written, it is begun. End quote. Your scroll has been opened. Now seal it. Comment 999. Chosen one. Angels are moving on your behalf. The moment you aligned your heart with heaven's instruction, things began to shift, though you may not see it yet in the natural. The spirit realm has already responded. You must understand this. Obedience doesn't just change, it activates movements around you. When you said yes to the scroll, heaven didn't just rejoice, heaven deployed. Angelic forces were dispatched with precision, not to entertain, but to execute. Every surrendered soul triggers divine strategy. And you, beloved, have stepped into that realm. For years, you have walked through resistance and opposition that didn't seem to match your circumstance. Spiritual turbulence, warfare in your sleep, emotional exhaustion that came with no warning. These weren't random attacks. They were signs that you carry something the enemy feared, reaching full maturity. But now that you've crossed into instruction, you're no longer fighting alone. The war has shifted. You've been surrounded all along, but now heaven is engaged. There are assignments attached to angels, just like there are instructions attached to you. And when your obedience rises, their authority is released. What was once delayed because of hesitation is now moving because of alignment. You're no longer praying for help that's already been sent. You're walking in step with it. Some of the heaviness is already lifting, not because circumstances changed, but because heaven moved closer. Divine assistance has drawn near. You've been strengthened in ways your body can't explain. Peace has returned where confusion once lived. Wisdom has begun flowing where indecision used to rule. Why? Because the scroll carries support, and that support always includes supernatural help. Angels are real, not as symbols, not as stories, as forces of divine purpose. Throughout Scripture, they've been sent to protect, to guide, to fight, and to deliver. And now, that same movement is happening again, this time around you. There are angels assigned to your name, to your region, to your family line, to the very territory your obedience has touched. They have been waiting, watching, ready, but divine order demands obedience before release. Heaven doesn't move on emotions, it moves on instruction. And now, the instruction has been given. The scroll has been received, and the gates have opened. Even now, unseen doors are unlocking. You're being guided with greater precision. Certain relationships are being rearranged. Hidden traps are being revealed. Timing is being divinely adjusted to ensure your arrival into what was written for you before time began. Chosen one. Don't take lightly the weight of this moment. The atmosphere around you is shifting. That pressure you felt breaking you, it was thinning the veil. That waiting room you thought was punishment, it was spiritual construction. And now that the scroll is active, the assistance has arrived. What you couldn't move in your own strength will now begin to move through grace. But do not confuse angelic activity with ease. You're still required to walk. You must still listen, still obey, still move. But now you're not walking alone. You've entered a phase of supernatural co-laboring. Heaven will not do for you what you won't steward, but it will move with you as you step forward. Your prayers are sharper now. Your insight is deeper. That's not you becoming more spiritual. That's divine partnership in motion. It's what happens when you sync your steps with instruction. It's what happens when obedience unlocks assistance. And this isn't just about you. Your activation is waking others. Heaven isn't just moving for you. Heaven is moving through you. Some of the angelic assignments now positioned around your life are meant to empower your reach. Because the scroll doesn't just contain your survival, it contains your impact. When Mary received word of the Messiah, Gabriel was sent. When Elijah sat in despair under the tree, an angel brought him food and told him to rise. When Daniel prayed for clarity, the angel said, "I came because of your words." And now, as you say yes, angels move because of your alignment. The book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 14 reminds us, "Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?" They've been sent to serve the purpose, to serve the scroll, to guard what is growing inside of you. So no, you're not walking blind. You're not pushing through alone. The resistance is real. Yes, but so is the reinforcement. And now, the atmosphere around your life is charged with motion. Kingdom motion. Angelic motion. What once resisted is now responding. Because heaven does not abandon its scroll bearers. It surrounds them. Chosen one. You have help. Not symbolic help. Real help. Strategic help. Heaven is moving on your behalf. Delay equals disobedience. That truth may sound harsh, but it carries the weight of heaven's urgency. You were never designed to sit endlessly in spiritual indecision. The scroll has been opened. The assignment has been released. The angelic backing has been set in place. And now, what heaven waits for is movement. Every moment you hesitate, a window narrows. Every time you circle back into maybe, you invite confusion to cloud clarity. Chosen one. This is not about fear. It's about faithfulness. Obedience delayed is not obedience. It's rebellion dressed in reasoning. And the longer you rationalize your way out of what God already made clear, the heavier the consequences become. God is merciful. Yes, He is patient. Yes, but even mercy has movement. Even grace flows like a river, not a pond. And when you sit still in what was meant to be a launching place, you not only delay yourself, you begin to distort what God intended for others through you. You've already seen what happens when you delay. The anxiety creeps in. The passion begins to flicker. What once felt like fire now feels like fog. That's not punishment. It's heaven withdrawing the momentum that was meant to accompany your movement. When you stall, you disconnect from the wind that was designed to carry you. There's a reason you've been feeling stuck. It's not that God left. It's that you paused where you were meant to pivot. And in that pause, delay became agreement. Agreement with fear. Agreement with excuses. Agreement with cycles that God already gave you power to break. Heaven has no obligation to repeat itself when clarity was already given. And when clarity comes, so does accountability. This is the season of now, not later. Not when everything aligns. Not when you feel more confident or more supported. Now, God is not waiting for your perfection. He's waiting for your participation. Every scroll carries a divine timestamp. It is written with an urgency that hell understands, even if you don't. That's why resistance always intensifies near the moment of breakthrough, because delay is one of hell's most successful tools. If Satan can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you. And if distraction doesn't work, he'll whisper the most dangerous lie. There's still time. That lie has robbed more destinies than direct disobedience. You're not too young. You're not too late. You're not too broken. But you are standing at the threshold where delay becomes disobedience if you refuse to step forward. This moment right now is sacred. You can feel the pressure of it in your chest, the urgency in your bones, the pull that tells you this isn't just another season, it's the season. The scroll has been handed to you, and your maybe later is no longer innocent. Let it hit you. The world is moving. The heavens are shaking. The earth is groaning. Everything is accelerating. And you were born into this hour for a reason. You were called to rise, not retreat, to run, not reason your way into circles. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 38, it is written, "But my righteous one will live by faith, and I take no pleasure in the one who shrinks back." There it is, plain. Shrinking back is not safe. It's not protective. It's displeasing, because shrinking back from obedience is a form of distrust, a way of saying, "God, I know you spoke, but I'm still not sure you're enough." And yet he is enough. You've been praying for more confirmation. But what if confirmation is waiting on your first step? What if clarity will only come after obedience? That's the realm where faith lives not in knowing everything, but in trusting the one who does. This is the hour where your yes must be louder than your logic, where surrender must trump your schedule, where fire must burn hotter than fear. Chosen one, you are not called to sit on what's sacred. You are called to move with it, to carry it like a flame, to protect it like a child, to release it like a weapon. There are lives tied to your scroll. There are names written in your obedience. There are territories that will remain locked until your yes becomes action. This is not to condemn you, it's to awaken you. Because there's still time, but not forever. And if you've felt the Spirit tugging, if your soul has been stirring, if the dreams have become more vivid and the interruptions more divine, it's because heaven is knocking again. But this knock may be the last before the door closes and the weight shifts to another. Don't wait until the fire dies. Don't delay until the moment passes. Your scroll is waiting to be lived, not just believed. Chosen one, the time has come for you to make a declaration not just with your heart, but with your voice, your posture, your presence, The scroll has been opened. The angels have been released. The instructions are moving. And now, heaven is asking you a question that demands a response. Will you take dominion? Not just receive it, not just admire it, but take it. Because dominion is not handed to the passive. It is claimed by the bold. God has already written the territory. Your name is on it. Your scroll details it. Your season has been building toward it. But it cannot be activated until you step forward and declare, "This is mine." End quote. There is no middle ground anymore. No more delay disguised as discernment. No more circling what heaven has already given. This is your line in the sand moment, where you move from surviving to governing, from receiving words to fulfilling them, from hearing prophecy to becoming prophecy in motion. Everything in your life has pointed to this. The battles, the silence, the strange patterns, the painful pruning, all of it has been preparing your shoulders for this weight. Not the weight of struggle, but the weight of authority. You are being crowned, not by men, not by platforms, but by the very hand of God. But here's what you must understand. Crowns come with conquest, and conquest demands a choice. You cannot conquer what you're still afraid to claim. You cannot step into dominion with the mindset of survival. Heaven is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to stand up and take the ground already marked as yours. The enemy has tried to talk you out of it. He's whispered that you're unqualified, that you've missed your moment, that your mistakes disqualify your mantle. But those are lies. Lies rooted in fear of what will happen when you finally wake up and take what's yours. Because Satan knows, a chosen one who accepts their dominion becomes a living disruption to his entire strategy. You weren't anointed to be liked. You were anointed to take territory, to walk into dark places and bring light, to reverse curses with your presence, to destroy patterns that have plagued your bloodline for generations. That's what dominion is. It's not noise. It's spiritual government. That is why you cannot stay silent now. This is not about feelings anymore. It's about alignment. You either walk in what's been written, or you forfeit it to fear. You either claim your seat, or you watch someone else rise in your place. Because heaven's timeline is not paused. And what has been scheduled over your life is waiting on one thing: your decision. In the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 17, Paul writes, 1. Those who receive abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness shall reign in life through the one, Jesus Christ. End of. Did you catch that? Reign in life. Not just survive. Not just struggle. Reign. You are not here to get by. You are here to take dominion. To reign means to govern what you were born to influence. To walk into the scroll with power. To speak and see the atmosphere shift. To decree and watch heaven confirm it. But it all begins with your agreement. Your yes is not a whisper anymore. It's a war cry. A signal in the spirit that you are taking hold of what's already been spoken over you. You are standing up and saying, no more delay. No more shrinking. No more playing small. No, this is not just affirmation. It's activation. If this word has hit your spirit, if you feel the fire burning in your bones, if you've been weeping, shaking, stirred in a way you can't even explain, it means the crown is near. The scroll is open. And now, heaven is waiting for you to say yes in a way that echoes beyond time. So speak. Declare. Align. Comment. I take dominion. These 4 words are not just text. They are thunder in the realm of the Spirit. When you type them, something shifts. The scroll settles. The angels move. The oil flows. Because you are not just believing anymore, you are claiming. You are stepping into the next chapter of your scroll. So don't keep this to yourself. Don't hide what heaven is igniting. If this message confirmed what's been rumbling in your soul, let it be known. Like this message because it lit something in you. Share it because someone else is sitting on a throne they haven't claimed yet. Subscribizo, you don't miss the next instruction when heaven speaks again. And most of all, comment, I take dominion. This is your shift from waiting to reigning. This is not hype. This is heaven. This is not emotion. This is destiny. This is not a suggestion. It is your scroll. It is your crown. It is your moment. Take dominion. You were sent here to disrupt darkness, not to coexist with it, not to hide from it, not to negotiate with it. You were sent as a divine interruption to the enemy's plans marked with fire, armored with truth, and sent forth with holy precision. This is the part of your scroll that most will not understand, because the world trains people to pursue comfort, avoid conflict, and stay quiet when the atmosphere is tense. But you were not wired for silence. You were built for collision. Your presence alone is confrontational, not because you're arrogant, but because you carry something eternal in a world drowning in temporary things. Chosen one. This is why your life has never fit the mold. Why your thoughts dig deeper than what others around you can handle. Why your discernment often isolates you. Why your sensitivity feels like both a gift and a curse. You're not weak. You're not too much. You're not overthinking. You are spiritually aware because you were sent here to see what others ignore. You were called to walk into darkness and expose it, to step into environments where the enemy has ruled unchecked for years and bring the kind of presence that makes demons nervous and heaven rejoice. That's not dramatic. That's biblical. You were not born to blend. You were born to bind, to break, to build, to burn with glory. That's why hell has tried to distract you, drain you, and disguise your identity under labels that do not belong to you. Because once you realize you are a disruptor of darkness, the rules change. You stop playing defense and start taking territory. You stop reacting and start declaring. You stop surviving and start ruling. You've been feeling this shift already. You've walked into rooms lately and felt a weight you didn't understand. You've sensed things that no one else mentioned. You've felt resistance before you ever said a word. That's not paranoia. That's your mantle. The anointing you carry is a threat, not because of how loud you are, but because of how aligned you are. When you carry revelation, you don't have to announce yourself. Darkness says you coming. This is why your atmosphere matters now more than ever. You cannot afford to walk casually when you were born for confrontation. You cannot afford to remain distracted when your presence is meant to shift the environment. Every time you step into a space, the atmosphere should register your arrival, because the kingdom of God is within you. And when the kingdom moves, everything else must respond. The scroll doesn't just contain identity, it contains assignment. And the assignment is war. Not a war of flesh and blood, but of truth and lies, light and shadow, heaven's government versus the systems of hell. And you, chosen one, are a weapon in the hands of God. You were not only saved, you were sent. Heaven deployed you to this timeline, into this region, into your specific lineage, because there was something in you that could disrupt what had settled. You are the end of generational cycles, the one who walks differently, thinks differently, prays differently. That's not rebellion. That's resistance against darkness. You're not difficult. You're dangerous to the agenda of hell. That's why relationships have been tested, why old habits no longer satisfy, why surface-level living now feels like suffocation. Your soul is waking up to the weight of what you carry, and what you carry cannot live in compromise. The oil on your life demands separation, not isolation from people, but separation from systems, from spiritual complacency, from emotional numbness, from anything that weakens your edge or dulls your discernment. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 11, Paul says, "Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them." This is not the season to blend in. It is the season to expose, to walk in rooms and shift the narrative, to speak what others are afraid to name, to carry light so fierce that shadows have no place to hide. Chosen one, you were not built to maintain what God sent you to overturn. You are a breaker, a remnant, a holy disruptor. And the moment you stop trying to make your anointing palatable, your authority will rise. The moment you stop apologizing for your fire, it will spread. The moment you stop negotiating with darkness, your scroll will unfold in full. This is your mantle. This is your edge. This is your charge. Walk in rooms, not to be accepted, but to bring change. Stand in your family line, not to repeat, but to rebuild. Speak not for approval, but for alignment. You are not here by accident. You were sent to disrupt, to deliver, to declare, to shatter silence with truth, to shake the ground with presence, to be a living scroll, walking with fire. This is who you are. Open the scroll, or miss your moment forever. Chosen one, this is not a metaphor. This is the turning point. You've been led here, word by word, encounter by encounter, moment by moment. Heaven has whispered, confirmed, stirred, and now it stands before you unfolded, unsealed. Undeniable. The scroll, your scroll, written before time, spoken by God, breathed into existence by divine intention, and now that it's been placed in your hands, there is only one question left, echoing through the heavens. Will you live what's been written, or will you abandon what you were born to become? Because you can't unknow it now. You can't go back to life as usual. The veil has been lifted. The call has been made. The silence has been broken. The words on this scroll match the weight in your chest. They answer the ache you couldn't name. They complete the broken pieces you've been carrying all your life. You've always known there was more. Now you've seen it. Now you've heard it. Now you've felt it awaken in you. To walk away now would not be ignorance. It would be refusal. And refusal always costs more than obedience. Because disobedience doesn't just pause, purpose it, surrenders it. It allows time, fear, and compromise to steal what only your surrender can unlock. This is why the enemy fought so hard to keep you from this moment. He doesn't fear your knowledge. He fears your agreement. He doesn't tremble when you get inspired. He trembles when you say, I accept what's been written of me. That more. Because once you open the scroll and walk in it, everything changes. The battle shifts. The territory expands. The heavens respond. You've seen pieces of it already. Dreams that came like visions. Conversations that felt orchestrated. Moments where the atmosphere around you grew thick with something you couldn't describe. These weren't coincidences. They were divine clues pointing to the day the scroll would open. And now, here it is. And it bears your name. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. Your existence is evidence of God's intention to disrupt cycles, to raise up warriors, to activate those who look ordinary but carry extraordinary fire. He didn't choose someone else. He chose you. And now that the scroll has been revealed, you are accountable for it. This doesn't mean pressure. It means power. It doesn't mean perfection. It means positioning. You are standing where generations before you could not, carrying what others dropped, seeing what your bloodline only dreamed of. You are the answered prayer of the past and the open door of the future. But the scroll won't fulfill itself. It waits on your choice. It waits on your movement. It waits on your voice, saying, "Here I am, send me." No, because scrolls that go unopened eventually return to the shelf, not out of cruelty, but because heaven's timeline cannot be delayed by the unwilling. And make no mistake, if you don't walk it out, the earth will still groan. The angels will still go. The assignment will be fulfilled through someone else. But it was written for you. The names in your scroll. The cities tied to your yes. The chains you were born to break. They will wait for a time, but not forever. And if you walk away, what will remain is not just what was lost, but the knowing that you stood at the threshold and chose silence. But if you open it fully, open it, everything begins. That weight you feel, that trembling in your hands, that's not anxiety. That's divine confrontation. It's heaven watching, holding its breath, ready to move the moment you say yes with your life. Not just your lips. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, verse 3, it is written, "So I ate it, and it tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth." That was Ezekiel's scroll. He didn't just read it. He consumed it. He absorbed the word into his body. And only then did his assignment begin. You must do the same. This scroll is not for your shelf. It is for your soul. You do not quote it. You become it. You do not admire it. You live it. Open it. Receive it. Walk in it. Because this moment will not knock twice. This is your hour. Your crossroad. Your divine intersection between what you could have been and what you were born to become. Heaven has spoken. Now live what was written. You've reached the end of this message, but what's been awakened in you is only the beginning. Chosen one. This wasn't content. It was a calling. It wasn't just a message. It was a mandate. And now, the scroll has spoken and your spirit has responded. The weight you feel in your chest, the fire stirring in your bones, the clarity settling over your mind, that's not hype. That's heaven's confirmation. You are not like the rest. You never were. You were chosen for this hour, assigned to this generation, and anointed for this battle. Your scroll has been opened. Your crown is waiting. And now, your obedience will shape eternity. Let this message mark you. Let it change how you pray. Let it shift how you walk into rooms. You are not coming as a seeker anymore. You're coming as a sent one. You're not wondering if you're called, you're walking like you know you were written into God's design. So now, though you're part Like this message if it hit your spirit with clarity. Comment your agreement below. Your declaration might break delay for someone else. Share it with someone whose scroll is waiting to be unlocked. Subscribe to stay connected to the flow of prophetic instruction. Don't let this word pass by like another post. Let it ignite a lifestyle. The scroll is open. The fire is falling. And you, chosen one, are rising. This was not just a message. This was the sound of your destiny waking up